leave that world behind and to create the life that I want for myself. These kids don't necessarily have those opportunities.
Welcome to today's episode where we dive deep into the heart of powerful movements making a real difference. Today, we're sitting down with Marija Caruana-Smith, the inspiring co-founder of Tread On Trafficking, a national fundraising event supporting Destiny Rescue. Marija shares her incredible journey, how this event started, the impact it's making, and why she's so passionate about protecting children from exploitation. We'll also explore the role the business community can play in making the world a better, safer place for our next generation. Get ready for an inspiring conversation filled with purpose, action, and hope. This is the Victorian Small Business Podcast.
You mentioned the idea of Tread On Trafficking started in the gym in the casual conversation. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I was training with Josh, who is my co-conspirator when it comes to Tread On Trafficking. And we both knew about the organisation and knew the work that it was doing out in the world. And we got talking, as I was lifting weights, we got talking about how the ordinary person who's struggling, particularly after the pandemic and the interest rate rises and things like that, how the ordinary person might be able to donate or help. The more we got talking about it, the more we realised that there are so many people out there that actually want to make a difference, but feel that the only way they can do that is by giving large sums of money, which they don't have. That got us onto the train of thought of thinking, well, how can we actually get these people involved so that they feel like they're involved and part of something, to make them feel like they're making a difference? And that's where the idea came about of, rather than donating money, perhaps they can donate their time. And people who perhaps have disposable income can donate or sponsor that person for the time that they're dedicating to the cause.
Trafficking has come into the foreground with all the stuff that's happening in the news over there, in the music industry and whatnot. I guess it's also really about letting other people know what Destiny Rescue is about. It's not a topic that you feel comfortable discussing over dinner. It's like, oh, hey, by the way, X, Y, Z. So is it also about not just the donation part, but like letting people know that this thing, prior to this Diddy thing, letting people know that this exists, this is actually really close. It's not somewhere over there. It's actually happening next door, potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. It is absolutely about raising awareness. And when I first started advertising the idea of Tread On Trafficking, I was quite surprised at the number of people that I spoke to about the event that actually didn't realise that it was going on in the world. So it is absolutely about raising awareness and making it something that is spoken about more often, and allowing people to actually sit in being uncomfortable and talking about uncomfortable things and start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. So absolutely, awareness is the key to change.
Yeah, it does start with difficult conversations because things that get swept under the rug don't get dealt with.
I feel that in any context when we're dealing with heavy and horrific topics, there are a lot of people that do tend to shut down and disengage. And so Tread On Trafficking is more about celebration rather than dwelling on the horrific nature of the problem and the magnitude of the problem.
Well, that kind of leads into our next question. What inspired you to take action for vulnerable children?
Over the last few years, I've found the courage to start talking about my own experience as a child. And whilst I didn't experience the horrific nature of what Destiny Rescue deals with, I have found the courage to start talking about the fact that I am a survivor of family violence. I've been fortunate enough to be given the opportunities to leave that world behind and to create the life that I want for myself. these kids don't necessarily have those opportunities. And it's about using my improved, fortunate life to try and give hope and brighter futures to children who might not have those opportunities to escape the life that they find themselves in.
How does that experience continue to motivate you?
Well, it's not an experience that you can forget. And in my own experience, I've been fortunate enough to find a way to transmute all of that negative energy and experience and turn it into something positive and powerful. And if I can use that positivity and power to motivate, inspire, and encourage others to help children in these situations, then I've been able to achieve something greater than just impacting my life in a positive way, but also impacting the lives of others in a positive way. Oh, God, I'm going to get emotional. It's a podcast.
It's a podcast. I might change the podcast. It's not a business podcast. It's where are you at? What's going on podcast?
Businesses and corporations. So the idea behind it is that we're in it to make profit. We're in it to make money. And we should be using our influence. I don't want this just to be my personal thing. I want it to be my legal thing as well. That you know, I'm doing this as part of the bigger picture of you know, being in business and running my own legal practice. I want to give back, and this is one of the ways that I'm giving back.
Yeah. But what was it about Destiny Rescue that made you want to support their cause?
The more I learnt about them, the more I realised that these are just ordinary people that have made a decision to find and rescue children. And it's ordinary people that are doing extraordinary things. That what drew me in has restored a little bit of my faith in humanity. And it also provides inspiration to someone like me, that someone like me can also make a difference as well.
What is Tread On Trafficking?
So what it was originally was we created a treadmill challenge that was set to take place over a 24-hour period. And our aim was to get 24 individuals to dedicate 1 hour of their time to jump on a treadmill. And their goal was to raise $1,000. So to find sponsors to sponsor their tread. What I didn't realise was what it was going to morph into. And what it morphed into was people taking to footpaths or climbing mountains or hills in their local area, or jumping on another treadmill somewhere else and doing their own relay. So Tread On Trafficking, the idea behind it was, in a relay-style fashion, have a treadmill going for 24 hours to stand in solidarity with children who find themselves in some very dark places around the world, to raise awareness of their plight and to raise money to help Destiny Rescue agents find them and rescue them.
Wow. So so 24 participants, 1,000 each. So the goal was 24,000 last year.
Yes.
What did you end up doing?
We ended up raising 38, and we ended up having between 35 to 38 people participating, which was far more than what we expected.
Well, that's really good. So what about this year? What's the goal this year?
Make it bigger and better. It is still a 24-hour challenge, but it is set for a longer period so that if someone who wants to participate can't do it within that 24-hour period, they can do it over that particular weekend. But it's also open to some really creative and innovative ways of actually participating. So my understanding is that one team this year is actually doing a 24-hour video game challenge where I believe they are going to play video games for 24 hours and seek sponsors for them to do that. It would be really wonderful to hear how that went for them and how they put that all together. Right now, I think we have just over 180 participants.
Wow.
And that comprises of, I believe, 38 teams so far. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll see that number increase some more. From a really humble idea in a gym one night to having 200 people across Australia participating is amazing.
That is in the space of a year. So you've obviously tapped into a market that's really wanting to do this, really wanting to be part of a team, really wanting to fundraise, really love the cause. So last year was just Victoria only. Like you had the place in Manningley,
Yes.
and that's where most of the trekking was done. Is that right?
That's right.
And now
it's Australia-wide. Now my understanding is that there are, the teams are across the country, which is fantastic. And I really believe that the idea behind having people do something that doesn't necessarily require them to donate large sums of money, I feel that that's really what's inspired people to get involved, because it allows people to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and it allows them to be a part of a team that could very well become an army. And that's how it all starts, in my view. I believe one person can change the world because that one person inspires another person, and then that person inspires another person, and then that just gets bigger and bigger until all of a sudden you've got an army of people behind you that are standing for the same cause and are wanting the same thing. And hopefully that army will get big enough so that some organisations like Destiny Rescue don't actually need to exist anymore, because we've raised enough awareness to a point where the ordinary everyday person will actually stand up in the uncomfortableness of it all and say, no more, I will not stand for this in my world anymore.
wow. I mean, hats off to you. Going from two of you having a conversation as you're literally, working out, treading on the treadmill maybe, to now, 12 months later, having a national thing with 38 teams. That's actually phenomenal growth. What is that, 38x?
Right.
Yeah.
We have Destiny Rescue to thank. They allowed us to run this event on our own under their banner. And there were a number of key people within Destiny Rescue that really believed in us. And at the end of the event, we handed over the reins. And we said to Destiny Rescue, if you like the idea, take it and run with it. We want to be involved, but if you can make it bigger and better, do it. And here we are. And that's what they've done.
Wow. Phenomenal. Given the serious nature of trafficking, how do you balance raising awareness of such a heavy issue with creating a fundraiser that's fun and inviting?
Well, last year when we did our 24 hours on the treadmill, we actually encouraged people to get into costume. And because it is such a heavy issue, I mentioned before that we're not necessarily focusing on the horrific nature of what's going on, even though we want to raise awareness of it. We're actually celebrating the hope and the really beautiful futures that Destiny Rescue is actually giving to the children that they rescue. And that, to me, ought to be celebrated. And so we encouraged the participants last year to make it fun and to get involved in jumping onto a treadmill in costume. So, for example, we had someone dress up as a runaway bride. It was a man in a wedding dress. And when he hitched up his dress, there were these beautiful legs underneath as he was treading. Everyone that walked into that gym in that 24 hours asked us what we were doing. What a great conversation starter. We're in costumes on a treadmill. And in us laughing and joking about what someone was wearing and how uncomfortable they looked on the treadmill and how were they actually going to walk or run on a treadmill in the costume that they had. We were actually talking about the serious side of why we were doing it. And everyone embraced it that walked into the gym. And framing it in a way that focuses on celebration rather than the problem and the horrific nature of what these children are going through, I think is what has made this event. And if we can continue to create conversations in such a fun way, I think people will be more open to being engaged in those sorts of conversations and being open to actually receiving the horrific fact about what's going on in the world as well. And so this year, we're also encouraging people to get into costume. We have a pop art theme, thanks to Destiny Rescue, but you can dress up as anything, be uncomfortable or not as you want. But it is about celebrating the beautiful futures that the children that Destiny Rescue will have as a result of our efforts and everyone else's fundraising efforts.
The longer I stay in business, the more I realize how much of a small world this is. And so a lot of the people that participated in the first round were, from your business networks.
Yes.
So, right?
That's right.
And obviously, this being a business-ish channel, what do you think our obligations are as business owners to put causes at the forefront of what we do as well?
I think more and more as the years go on, there is a sense in the business community that we need to do more than just focus on making money and maximizing profits. So I think that there is more of a push for corporate social responsibility. And for me, in business and running my own legal practice, so whilst making money is important, I think there needs to be a shift, even a small one, to start working out what's best, not just for our business, but also for the community, for the people that we serve in our businesses, and also society at large. For me, it's my way of giving back. I'm fortunate enough to be able to run my own business, and I feel that if all of us in business just give an hour of our time to do something that doesn't necessarily mean money in your bank account, but creating a better world for our families, for our children, we could see a massive shift in the world and making it a kinder and safer place, particularly for children.
Thank you for tuning in to the Victorian Small Business Podcast. We hope you found some inspiration and insight to keep you growing your business and your network. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with fellow business owners who could use a boost. Stay connected with us via our website, vsbn.com.au, and don't forget to check out our upcoming Grow Your Network events for even more opportunities to build lasting, genuine relationships. Until next time, keep connecting.